Let's start with Artemis Spencer. What would you say about good old Artie?
Man, Artie. So when I first started going to shows, he was wrestling under a mask. And he was known as Halo.
Yeah.
And like me and my buddy Sid, we became friends with him. And like, man, like he was basically our age, maybe like a year older, but he's already wrestling on shows. He was so advanced. He started young, and like he was just so talented. And yeah, a lot of my earlier matches working with him, just learning so much from him because he's just so skilled and just so highly technical. And I'm so glad now that he's getting the recognition that he deserves. You know, he's out there more and people are noticing him, and he is just an incredible talent, trainer and friend.
Nicole Matthews.
Oh, just amazing talent. My first intergender match was with her at like a student show, maybe the first year I'd broken in, and she's just incredible talent as well. Same deal. I'm glad she's getting the recognition she deserves as well, because she's just an amazing trainer and wrestler.
Good old Tony Baroni.
Tony Baroni. He went to like elementary school with my sister, or I forget how my sister knows him, but I remember like, you know, Tony Baroni? Hilarious. What a dude. Awesome wrestler, funny guy. I got my heads, he was a paramedic at one point, and I got the back of my head split open at like a wrestling show. And I was like, my wife, she might have just been my girlfriend at the time, but I was in Canada, and I was like, yeah, I split my head open. She's like, go get stitches, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, Tony Baroni just super glued it shut. It's fine. She's like, who is Tony Baroni, and why is he super gluing your head?
That's hilarious. I forgot that he was a paramedic. I know, shout out to all those people, plus a couple more of them are named, because these are a lot of people that also gave me a lot of first opportunities to do interviews and stuff when I first started all this stuff. I remember sitting in the ring at the Lionsgate Dojo and doing one with 3 of them. So I have a bunch of memories with them all, but I totally forgot about that part. El Phantasmo,
man. Part of my original training class. Just a stand-up guy and an incredible talent. You know, he's over in New Japan just crushing it. That guy, I mean, he's destined for more great things as well, because he's just flawless in the ring, man. I've had some of my favorite matches with him. And yeah, he used to wrestle under a mask as well. Some of our first matches were against each other. And yeah, just wicked guy, so talented.
Scotty Mac.
He was one of my trainers. So Michelle Starr, Aaron Idle, and Scotty Mac were like my kind of 3 main trainers. And I learned a ton from him. Had a lot of my first like big matches or like main event matches working with him. And like, as a fan going to indie shows, he was like the top guy, and just kind of, you know, he inspired me that I, you know, maybe I could actually pursue this and do something with wrestling.
The similar story, like when I first started going back to like ECCW shows and stuff, Scotty was the top guy, and I was like, oh yeah, okay. Billy Suede,
man, I love Ill Bill, dude. we were a tag team at one point. We've had we've had like an Iron Man match. We've had one of my favorite opponents of all time. Just a stand-up guy, man. Ill Bill Suede. If people listening to this don't know a lot of these people that we're talking about, like, check them out on YouTube, because these are some of the best talents, you know.
I know, and that's why I wanted to bring them up with you, because I'm like, I know you've worked with a lot of them, you wrestle a lot of them, and they probably don't always get talked about on these shows that you're on. So I want to make sure, because my audience is a little bit bigger and more of a reach than just Vancouver. So hopefully, if I'm talking to them about with you, then more people will check them out. So definitely check them on YouTube. And you talked a little bit about them already, and now I've learned more about your guys' relationship just through this interview. But Sid Sylum,
yeah, we first met like playing Pee Wee football when we were like, you know, however old I was, 8, maybe 10, you know, and he was like, we just instantly connected because we both liked wrestling. You know how like you have that wrestling friend, you know, when you're growing up, because like wrestling was huge for a while, and then like when I got to high school, wrestling suddenly wasn't the coolest thing in the world anymore. And so like, you know, being looked at as the wrestling kid, but you had a wrestling friend, so like you could still, you know, yeah. And I never would have became a wrestler if it wasn't for Sid Sylum. You know, he's the guy that took me to indie shows. He's the guy that told me there was a school opening up. Yeah, I mean, we talk every day still. Like, he's one of my closest friends.
Do you ever wrestle Bishop?
I have wrestled Bishop. Yeah.
So I was gonna ask you about him. How about Bishop?
Oh, Bishop's awesome too, man. Him and Sid were like a really formidable tag team for a lot of years, I know. I think after I had left BC, Bishop really started to blow up on the local scene as well.
And then last but not least, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about the good old Bollywood Boyz, Harv and Garcia.
Those guys are right, man. And first training class, Gerv was a part of it. Harv came in, maybe a year after we had started training. We've done camps. We went to the Harley race camp together. And just glad to see those guys just still killing it. Still having a great time and still just a super entertaining act to watch and talented guys. So super happy for those guys.